You are the sky, everything else it's just the weather. The most fundamental aggression to ourselves, the most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves is to remain ignorant by not having the courage and the respect to look at ourselves honestly and gently. If we learn to open our hearts, anyone, including the people who drive us crazy, can be our teacher. Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. The most difficult times for many of us are the ones we give ourselves. Fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. Rather than letting our negativity get the better of us, we could acknowledge that right now we feel like a piece of shit and not be squeamish about taking a good look. If someone comes along and shoots an arrow into your heart, it's fruitless to stand there and yell at the person. It would be much better to turn your attention to the fact that there's an arrow in your heart. To be fully alive, fully human and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. To live fully is to be always in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely new and fresh. To live is to be willing to die over and over again. We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem, but the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible in us be found. I used to have a sign pinned up on my wall that read, only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us. It was all about letting go of everything. We don't set out to save the world. We set out to wonder how other people are doing and to reflect on how our actions affect other people's hearts. Do I prefer to grow up and relate to life directly, or do I choose to live and die in fear? A further sign of health is that we don't become undone by fear and trembling, but we take it as a message that it's time to stop struggling and look directly at what's threatening us. We can spend our whole lives escaping from the monsters of our minds. Like all explorers, we are drawn to discover what's out there without knowing yet if we have the courage to face it. When we protect ourselves so we won't feel pain, that protection becomes like armor that imprisons the softness of the heart. So even if the hot loneliness is there, and for 1.6 seconds we sit with that restlessness when yesterday we couldn't sit for even one, that's the journey of the warrior. Without giving up hope that there's somewhere better to be, that there's someone better to be, we will never relax with where we are or who we are. No one ever tells us to stop running away from fear. The advice we usually get is to sweeten it up, smooth it over, take a pill, or distract ourselves, but by all means, make it go away. We are all capable of becoming fundamentalists because we get addicted to other people's wrongness. Rejoicing in ordinary things is not sentimental or trite. It actually takes guts. Each time we drop our complaints and allow everyday good fortune to inspire us, we enter the warrior's world. Nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. True compassion does not come from wanting to help out those less fortunate than ourselves, but from realizing our kinship with all beings. As long as our orientation is toward perfection or success, we will never learn about unconditional friendship with ourselves, nor will we find compassion. When we resist change, it's called suffering, but when we can completely let go and not struggle against it, when we can embrace the groundlessness of our situation and relax into its dynamic quality. That's called enlightenment. What happens with you when you begin to feel uneasy, unsettled, queasy? Notice the panic. Notice when you instantly grab for something. Trying to run away is never the answer to being a fully human. Running away from the immediacy of our experience is like preferring death to life. The greatest obstacle to connecting with our joy is resentment. Honesty without kindness, humor, and good-heartedness can be just mean. When we touch the center of sorrow, when we sit with discomfort without trying to fix it, when we stay present to the pain of disapproval or betrayal, and let it soften us, these are times that we connect with bodhicitta. It's a transformative experience too. Simply pause instead of immediately fill up the space. By waiting, we begin to connect with fundamental restlessness as well as fundamental spaciousness. The more we witness our emotional reactions and understand how they work, the easier it is to refrain. Everybody loves something, even if it's only tortillas. We have a choice. We can spend our whole life suffering because we can't relax with how things really are, or we can relax and embrace the open-endedness of the human situation, which is fresh, unfixated, unbiased. None of us is ever okay, but we all get through everything just fine. At the root of all the harm we cause is ignorance. The essence of bravery is being without self-deception. Pain is not a punishment. Pleasure is not a reward. Don't let life harden your heart.